This is Molly Reamer with Brigid's Grove with the second video for our 30 Days of Goddess-Centered Devotional Practice offering. And this is originally designed to go with to accompany my book, Whole and Holy, a Goddess Devotional, but it is also a standalone experience. And so for this one, this is a more complex binding of your little booklet, set up to use two signatures. So a folded bundle of pages is called a signature, and a single page is called a folio. A bundle of pages is called a signature, and then multiple pages are called there's multiple signatures. And so usually I do the booklets, and there is a single signature sewn into one little book. But because the page count is higher, I also wanted to offer a double signature version of how to sew the binding. So it's a little bit more complex and requires a little bit more explanation. But I wanted to show you that option too, so you can make a little bit of a tidier and a different format for the book binding. And so there's an audio that accompanies this 30-day practice that explains more about how to use the pages, so you do have access to that. This is primarily about sewing the binding. But yeah, so you've got a variety of options. So for this one, you're going to need clothespins or something to hold the pages together, a bone folder or something to press down the folios themselves can be really helpful. And then you'll need a blunt tip needle. It can be a tapestry needle or an embroidery needle or a bookbinding needle. And then you will need something to bore holes with. I use a screwdriver that's been flattened off or been filed down, but you can use an awl or another boring implement to bore the hole. And thread. This is linen bookbinding thread, but you can use wax linen, you can use embroidery floss, you can use ribbon, you can even use dental floss if need be. And then you'll need something for the cover. So you'll need your two signatures, and this is two different files that you're going to be able to print out, the first half, second half. And so you will need to print those out, print them out double-sided, and then cut them in half so you have two little bundles. And when you can fold each folio, the folio is the single page, you can fold each folio separately and crease it so it's nice and sharp edged. And then your second bundle. And so they're laid out this way intentionally, so you end up with a back page and a front page. And so printing them out double-sided does matter, and then folding them into two separate bundles. The first half and the second half also matters in terms of getting the page layout right, so you have the prompts for the 30 days practice. You have the prompts in the back in the proper location. And then you'll need something to use for the cover. You can use a card. I am using a plain piece of watercolor paper that I'm planning to stamp later and embellish further. So right now it's just plain. But you will need a piece, and you will need to cut it. I use a paper cutter to get pretty sharp lines, but you can just use scissors. And you will need to cut the paper so it is big enough for your book page when they're opened up. I actually just open up the printed book pages and then cut around it, leaving about, a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch on each side. And then I have a long edge because I'm going to trim that off after the book is finished, and you'll see what I mean about that. But so something that you're going to need to do first, and this is where the bone folder can come in handy as well to get a sharp edge. But after you've got your paper, fold it in half. And then you're going to need to fold it into a tiny little M shape at the top. And it won't be as easy for you because I folded mine already, so this video isn't too long. But you're going to end up with an M, a tiny little M, letter M, at the top of your paper. Does that make sense? So I do it by taking it, fold it in half, and then hold it with your finger and crease it back. Smooth it with your folder, and then on the other side, crease it back like that. Okay, so you've got a paper, a cover paper with a tiny little M at the top. Okay, so then fold it back normally, mess up your M, leave it out like that. And then the important thing to do to make the layout turn out correctly is make sure the page that you want to be on the front is actually face down when you're sewing it. And then ditto, so your back pages, it's going to be face down. So the pages that you're going to want to see when the book is finished, you need to not be able to see when you're actually sewing. Okay, so we're going to leave this folded, and you're going to open up, these are your two signatures, you're going to open up your two signatures. And then you're going to put them together like a little sandwich. You're going to put them together like a little sandwich. So you've got the sandwich, you've got the two signatures are your two pieces of bread, and then you've got your filling of the cover. The cover is not opened up, the two signatures are opened up. And you're going to lay them together in the right places. I've poked my holes again so that I can have my background and I don't have to poke into my cover here. Oops. But you will poke the holes as you go. So you don't have to worry about holes right now. I am the one who has to worry about holes because I poked them in advance. And you're going to use your clothespins to hold your sandwich together. Your book sandwich. Okay. You'll want to line up all your folded areas together. And I may have hurt myself a little bit by poking the holes in advance in terms of skillfully doing a video about it, because now I have to realign them and you will just be poking and won't have to be trying to realign them for a video. Okay. Okay, so when you're all lined up, and you're held in place with your clothespins, then you're going to poke your 3 holes, one at the top. And this doesn't matter that it's uneven here because I'm going to trim that off later. So you don't have to worry about the unevenness here or here. So you're going to poke your hole, poke your hole, poke your hole. I'm going to scoot this over for a second, make sure my holes are correct. Sorry about that. I'm not very pro video maker, and that's okay, because this is not about being pro. This is about your 30-day devotional practice and how it can enrich your life. So then you're going to go down through the middle. This is the same as the other booklets. The only thing that's different is that you're doing 2 sewn as 1. Sometimes they call it, so this is a dual signature book, but sometimes they call it sometimes they just say it's 2 sewn as 1. So you're sewing 2, essentially you're sewing 2 booklets at the same time, simultaneously, into one. And you're going to go up. Okay. So the advanced holes were not that genius of a plan, just so you know, because I'm getting it off center. So you're going to be way better at this. Okay. And then you're going to go all the way down to the bottom hole, which hopefully is in the right place for you. Make sure to keep hold of your tail. And then you're going to go back up through the center hole. Which again should be simpler than I am currently. Woo! And there goes my tripod. Wow. What a pro. Okay, so there you go. Shoot. I might have to redo this, and I might not, because it is what I've got to offer right now. Make sure you're on either side. Oops. Yeah. Make sure you're on either side of the center. Oh. Tie it down. And then this is the fun part. Ta-da! Now you fold your cover around. And you have a double signature book laid out correctly. Ta-da! And it'll have that center part where the two books are sewn as one. And your binding will look a little different. Maybe you'll have multiple holes if you struggled like me. And then obviously I will cut off this excess on the side. If you have a full sheet of watercolor paper and you cut the side off after you sew it, you end up with a piece that's about big enough for a bookmark. This piece that I have left behind is not big enough for a bookmark, but you can have a bonus bookmark if you use a full-size page. So there the book is. Apologies for my technical difficulties, and I hope you really enjoy this 30 days of Goddess devotional practice. Thanks for watching.